Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So this is a very special episode. I reached 1,000 subscribers. First and foremost, I gotta give a huge shout out and thanks to John Wilburn and Tony from Uncle Tony's Garage. Those two guys just blow me away. John Wilburn has a channel. He's restoring or fixing up a Dodge Dart to go drag racing. I highly advise you check his channel out and subscribe to him and Uncle Tony's Garage. If you don't know Uncle Tony, you must be living under a rock somewhere, because he is huge. He is a die-hard Mopar man, and he's a hot rodder from way back, and he knows his stuff. So you may have noticed I didn't put a video up this past weekend, and that's all because I did a video for him on Casper. He wanted a feature of it because he's been looking for a Ford to showcase on his channel, and it's just an honor and a privilege that he picked mine. I mean, out of all of the cars and trucks that are out there, John Wilburn got in touch with him and told him, said, hey man, you need to check out Andy Wood's Casper. You're going to love it. And from then, it just turned into a whirlwind, and I'm blown away and deeply humbled by it, guys. Something I don't take lightly. I appreciate the effort of each and every subscriber out there who's came on board with my channel, because it means that you're putting faith in what I'm producing in videos, and that means a lot. So today's question, something that's been on the internet forever and I never got a true answer. Do velocity stacks add power or rob power? We're going to find out because we put it on the dyno. Stay tuned. You know, there's really no better place to be, either at the dyno or at the racetrack. So once again, I'm back down here at my favorite place, Tom's Dyno, and today I'm going to test something that's been debatable for years, and I've never really gotten a really good answer, so we're going to put it to the test. You know, my truck has a tunnel ram with 2 4-barrels and so on and so forth. Well, we're going to test and see if velocity stacks make a difference or not. You know, I've made runs on the dyno with this thing with the air filters off and the velocity stacks off of it, but today we're going to put the stacks on there and see what it does, if it helps power, if it's indifferent, or if it loses power. You're going to get the truth right here in just a minute. So this is our test subject. These velocity stacks I found on eBay, NOS Mr. Gasket velocity stacks, still in the original boxes. Now get this, it didn't come with these filters. These filters are K&N, and I got those from Summit, but when I got these and pulled them out of the box, the paperwork said it was from 1976. It didn't even look like it had been out of the box. I mean, they were that pristine. So, you know, every once in a while you can still score a really good find on eBay. It's just rare. So these are old school, and we're going to see if they make power, lose power, or if they just don't do anything. Alright, Tom, what's your guess?
Hard to say. It's going to depend all on what it does with the air filter.
I know. I'm kind of curious.
If it leans it out a little bit,
it's going to make,
even though the filters might hurt it, it's going to take power.
Right. Because we already know the truck's running a little ridge right now. So if it does that, I think you're on to something. So you heard it. Well, that's why we test. You know, you got to learn. see what happened. I'm excited. Tom gives me that look. I know things are looking up.
Gold line.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. Okay. The orange line is the run that we just made. So we just picked up right at a little over 3 horsepower and 4 foot-pound of torque at the wheels by the velocity stack. And you can see the gains right there. The raw numbers.
Gold to green.
Yeah, the gold and the green, that's what you need to be comparing.
9 times out of 10, filter always makes more power.
Say that one more time, a lot louder.
9 times out of 10, filter on a carburetor always makes more horsepower.
You know, when I went back, Tom and I just looked at the log of my air-fuel ratio. It did lean it out quite a bit. Where it was down into the low 10s, it got up to 11.3, which is still really rich. So, you know, there's a lot of tuning that needs to be done, but I don't have the stuff here with me to do all that. And plus, it's a time-consuming affair when you're doing it with 2 carburetors. So. Well, folks, what'd you think about the dyno test? I know it leaves you asking more questions, right? You know, the million-dollar question is, did it pick up power because of the direction of airflow going into the carburetor, or was it because the fact that it actually leaned out the air-fuel mixture? Because when we did this test, the carburetors hadn't been on there very long and they were running really rich. I'm talking like in the 9s in the main circuit at wide open throttle. So by putting this the velocity stacks on there and repeating the test, it actually leaned it out quite a bit. So what do you think? You think it picked up power because of that? Leave it in the comments. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about that. So on a side note, let's talk about what's going on with the channel and where we're at. I had a few people, since everybody's been checking out Casper, sometimes, you know, maybe for the first time, others, they've seen it quite a bit. They wanted to see the inside of the truck, because in the video that Tony put up, I didn't put any inside shots, and that's my fault. So let's take a look at this old crusty Ford inside and see what you think. You can see it's just got an old bench seat. You can tell that it's well worn. It's got that patina look. Got my RJS belt here. Nothing really special. You know, the truck is an XLT model, which means it has the wood grain trim. Have just 3 gauges down there, the basic gauges. Have a Hurst Promatic 2 shifter for a truck. It works great. That's one of my favorite shifters, and it's been awesome. But the coolest thing about the shifter is this right here. That is a straight up legit Home and Moody shifter knob that's probably 50 years old or more. Every hot rod from the 1970s had to have the go-to tachometer, the Sun Super Tac, the SST 709 or 802. I'm sorry, this is the 802 model. And this thing, I had this one restored a few years back. I have another one that's brand new that's never been installed in a car. And yeah, I love collecting stuff like that. So this is the inside of the truck. Nothing special, just, you know, black carpet, wood grain wheel. Pretty Spartan, nothing special. Now, one thing that's going to have to change with the new engine build is it's going to have to get a roll cage, or a roll bar at least, because most of you may not know this, but I'm a former NHRA tech man, and it doesn't look good if you got a former tech man out there breaking the rules and running faster than he needs to be going without a roll bar or roll cage. So, you know, technically the cutoff is 749 1/8 mile, 1149 1/4, and it's been right on the edge. You know, it's went a 736. That's the best ET to date. So it's definitely going to have a cage, especially since we're going to do drag week with this thing, you know, which leads me into another topic. Anytime you do a hot rod, you need to have a philosophy of the build. You know, what's the intended purpose of doing the things that you do? A lot of times people will get started on a project and they don't have a game plan, and then they will abandon it halfway through. Why do they do that? I'll tell you why. Either one, money, they run out of money, or two, they didn't have a well executed plan as to what they really wanted in their hot rod. So what is the plans for mixed up balls, and how is it going to incorporate into Casper? Going back to the premise of this truck and when I built it, it was built on a what if. In 1964, Ford produced two F100s that was designated only for drag racing. It was called the F100 XL. Uncle Tony's Garage actually featured those trucks, and he talked about it a good while back. Both Ford and Dodge produced pickup trucks to run in NHRA in the BFX class, B Factory Experimental. And so those trucks, they were pretty awesome. I mean, they ran in the low 12s, high 11s as they came from the factory, which at the time was getting down. And so I took the idea of those trucks and applied it and said, you know what? Let's say 1971 came and they wanted to heavily get back into drag racing, and there was a new class. They wanted to run an F100. So in my mind, that is the picture that I came up with right here. What you see is a what if Ford decided to build a factory drag truck in 1971. And my mentality behind the engine build was I wanted it to look completely old school. You know, what was in the utmost style in 1971? Pro stock. Pro stock drag racing had just been born in 1970, and it was the hottest thing going because it pitted Dodge, Ford, and Chevrolet against each other in ways that they hadn't never been before. You know, they were running heads up, and in 1970, Mopar cleaned house. Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin, they totally dominated. In fact, it wasn't until summer of 71 that Ford got their first win at the Summer Nationals with Dyno Don Nicholson and his Maverick with a camera. But fitting along this, I wanted to do a tunnel ram, old school, and use kind of the parts that would have been available back then. I know people will say something about the aluminum heads, but you know, it's not 100% exact. It's just right in my mind. You know, everybody has their own taste, and you know, maybe I should have painted the cylinder heads blue to look like they were factory cast iron, but I didn't. So where does the mixed up balls fit into this scenario? I tell you, it's perfect. You know, because Greg Brown took an idea of adapting one of the most legendary Ford engines, the Boss 429. It has everything going for it. I mean, people still, it has a mystique about it, just like the 426 Hemi does for the Mopar guys. And so when he took that idea and found a way to adapt that style cylinder head to a small block Windsor block, I mean, that is just unreal. And so let's think about this. It's not just about the look of the cylinder head. This thing is a serious race piece. Out of the box, these heads flow right at 400 CFM. Now, for those of you keeping track, with 400 CFM, you have the potential to be able to make 800 horsepower naturally aspirated. You know, it's just simple math. You take your CFM and airflow of what the cylinder head will flow, and multiply it by 2, and normally that'll get you in the ballpark as far as what the head is capable of. Ported, he's already gotten his up around 470, and there is a guy, EFI University, you need to check this out, look it up. He has gotten 500 CFM out of these ball style heads for the Windsor and the LS. See, Greg didn't put himself in a box because the LS is a copy of a Windsor. He found that he could adapt those heads to fit on a LS block as well, and he's been featured on the cover of Hot Rod magazine. He's won engine competitions with it. I mean, it's just unreal, the capability of those heads. But I wanted to show you something cool that I have here for the project. Since it's going to be called the Mixed Up Boss, Greg has some awesome valve covers that are cast aluminum. You get your choice whether you want to go cast or sheet metal. And for my build, I decided to go old school with the cast look. And he's got some awesome 427 Hemi emblems that I'll show you right now. Those things look amazing. But to fit our theme, yes sir, the real deal. Boss 429 emblems from Boss Performance out in Nevada. It even comes with the spark plug wire looms holders and the breather tubes here. So the ultimate goal for this engine build of mine is when it's done, it's going to look like a true fake Boss. I'm not, you know, I'm making it look as much as I can as a Boss 429, and I know that it will never be a true Boss 429, but in my mind, it is. And to 95% of the other people out there, it will to them too, because when people look at the engine, they're going to know first that it's special, and two, when they see that Boss 429 emblem, they're going to know that something is up. And then when they look down and they see that it's on a small block, they're going to be asking a ton of questions. Before I leave you, once again, I just want to give a huge shout out to Uncle Tony and John Wilburn for what they did for my channel and bringing all of the viewers over here. And I want to thank you for watching, because that's what it's about. I mean, I am very humbled that you have taken time from your day to watch me talk about something that I love to do. On a last note, I don't get in politics on here, but I do want to remind you of something. It's the weekend of 4th of July, which is one of the most important holidays in America's history. And 2 weeks ago, my brother lost his father-in-law, Ray Givens. And I've known this man my whole life. He was a great, godly man. And he served this country during Vietnam at the height of the war. And when he passed away, I was honored to be a pallbearer, but when we got to the graveside and seen that they were having full military honor funeral for him, it just took me away. I mean, I got emotional. I mean, it made me cry like a baby. And it put in perspective that regardless of where we are socially and what kind of crazy crap is going on the news and what we're seeing, we still live in the greatest country in the world. You know, no other country has our story. And even though we have our issues and our problems, the fact that we can have a ceremony when someone passes away in honor of their commitment to the military for their time in the military is just unbelievable. So keep that in mind, and I just want you to think about how it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, we're all Americans, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. And until next time, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports. Catch you later.